Good afternoon, good morning, or good evening, depending on where you're tuning in from. Welcome, participants. My name is Lewis, and I am here representing the BoSTEM initiative here at United Way. If this is the first time you're joining us, welcome. You're in for a treat. We are going to dive deep into career pathways in the STEM fields. So, our STEM chat session today is going to feature a little bit about what it's like to work at a company related to computer science. And when I say computer science, we're talking about the general field. And we're here to talk about a company that is really well known among a lot of other tech companies. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming our special guest today, Morgan from Google. Hi, Morgan.
Hi, how are you?
Not too bad. Can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Morgan Galvin. I am a software engineer working at Google. Um, I work on the Google Cloud product. Right now, I'm working on the front end for cloud monitoring. So people rent servers from Google, and what we do is we provide a bunch of information to the people who rent out the servers as to like what's going on. So how busy they are, stuff like that. And I'm working on the front end of that, so we're doing charts and dashboards and visualizations to help people figure out what's going on.
Cool, cool. All right, students. So that's just to give you a little brief peek into what we're going to talk about today. So if you have questions or if you're tuning in live, please go ahead and use the chat box. Otherwise, we'll go ahead and just dive into this conversation and just toss questions to Morgan to hear a little bit more about what it's like to work at Google. So Morgan, you mentioned that you are a computer scientist working at Google, specifically a software engineer on the front end. So yeah, working at Google is pretty cool. And as a computer scientist, a lot of students sometimes might understand it as a role where you're working by yourself behind a computer screen. Can you tell us what it was like for you growing up? Did you envision yourself working as a computer scientist or an engineer for software?
Actually, no, not at all. I kind of stumbled into the field. My background is actually in philosophy. I studied philosophy in college, and I was really interested in like the fundamentals of math and linguistics. Um, And after college, I didn't know what to do with myself besides maybe go to grad school, but I wanted to take some time off. And I kind of just randomly one day was building a website and for like some random other business I had started and I wanted to get more into it. And I'm like, well, how do I actually build it from scratch? And that kind of sent me down this rabbit hole of learning how to program and how to build stuff myself. And um, it was a lot of the same skills I really loved using in philosophy. You're very analytical. You have problems that you're trying to solve, um, and it kind of was a perfect fit for what I was interested in. I think I was always interested in that kind of stuff as a kid. Like I was really into math. I really enjoyed math, and I was good at it naturally. Um, so I think I maybe saw myself using those kind of skills, and I really enjoyed using those skills. But I did not really envision computer science. This is kind of a surprise for me.
Yeah, that's really cool. I love when we kind of discover where STEM professionals never kind of take or how do I say this, the stereotypical role into a STEM field. It's always really like diverse. So you studied philosophy, and this was an interest for you early on. You mentioned that math was kind of the foundation there for you. A lot of our participants who might be listening, as you know, Morgan, might be middle school or high school students. So they are right there in the foundational or introductory level, just learning those concepts related to that. And sometimes, it might be a little challenging to just say, how does this even relate? Where is this going? Can I even have a job in something like this? So, what was it for
Mhm.
you, Morgan, that really kind of helped you navigate the academic space to kind of push philosophy and make that connection to math and other STEM fields?
Mhm. Um, I think for me, it was really the skill set. So like when you're in school and you're learning like why am I going to use this calculus or why am I going to use this algebra, it seems very out there. Um, but it's very hard to create a math curriculum that's going to work and be exactly perfect for everybody. But the thing that's important is like the skill set of like learning math, learning how to use these analytical skills, learning how to understand problems and dig into things that you don't understand. Um, so like with math, you have like syntax, like you have like um, if you get into calculus, they have like new symbols, and you're like, what are these symbols? And you're trying to figure it out, and it's very like esoteric or very complicated. It happened in philosophy too, where you get in and there's this entire language of just how to describe arguments and how to describe stuff. And that was very useful in that, just like learning how to learn is like a really important skill, and math is really good at that. And then when you get actually into industry stuff, like when you get into software engineering, if you actually study computer science in college, it'll be very useful and you'll build a very big foundation. But in industry, you're going to be spending most of your time learning new stuff anyways. So the ability to learn is kind of like super crucial. Like all the technologies I use at work, um, you won't find it in a college, like because Google is so proprietary. So yeah, it helps to really focus on just the ability to learn stuff and be curious. I'd say that's kind of like how that ties in for me.
Yeah, no, that's super important. I mean, the skills, you're hitting the nail right on the head there, right? Here at Boston, we like to reinforce this mindset where where educators understand that the STEM fields are challenging and difficult, and as you mentioned, really abstract. So we're really trying to highlight for our students that you have to build a certain mindset within the STEM fields, right? Not only is it problem solving, but it's teamwork, it's collaboration, and then
Mhm.
also the social skills that you mentioned related to analytics, right? Reading graphs and those kinds of things, or just being a really curious learner. Those all kind of come together into what we call a growth mindset. So I'm so happy that you mentioned, coupling that mindset with the skills that you're learning in school. So students, I mean, this is all right now just the foundation that you're building. I hope that your curiosity to just say, what is this and how does this apply? It keeps, keep that alive so that you can, really navigate the academic space and find your space. Morgan, you mentioned a little bit about that transition between industry and being at school or in the college level academic space. What was that transition like for you?
Um, for me, it was like a, I don't know, I think for people who are like in computer science, it might be a little jarring because they have expectations of like, I learned these different skills at school. I'm going to be using them every day. Um, and you do use them as a very fundamental set of skills. But for me, the transition was a little bit different because I didn't have any expectations really. Like I taught myself how to program and I did everything from the ground up. Um, for me, it was a very long, difficult uphill battle because I didn't have a computer science degree and it was very difficult to get anyone's attention, really. Like I moved around the country, moved around the world, just trying to get people to listen to me and be like, hey, hire me. I'm talented. I'm like capable of doing this work. Um, so for me, it was a very big uphill battle where I knew the challenges and I knew like I had lots of time to read up on like what the industry is like. Whereas when you're in school, you might be focusing a lot on doing well in your classes, meeting new people, networking, stuff like that. But for me, it was just I had a lot of time to focus and learn what the industry is like. Um, so yeah, like I started a couple businesses. I like done lots of very low level work just so I can get my name out there and get references and stuff like that. So it's a very hard uphill battle, as opposed to if you focus more on it at an earlier age.
Yeah, no, that's really, really cool. So what we're hearing, students, is that Morgan kind of recognized that the challenges were present, right? You realized that there were barriers that you needed to overcome. But I kind of hear a hidden message here. Your confidence in your skills and that growth mindset that you have kept you going, right? Kept you saying, you know what? I know this is challenging, but there is going to be that opportunity. I will get to my goals, eventually. And I love that because that's a sense of perseverance that we're trying to instill in this BoSTEM program and really try to, share that with our students and show them that this is something that STEM professionals right now are continuously, grappling with. So this is a skill that, is definitely something that we see a lot of value in. So thank you for sharing that. Morgan, we talked a little bit
Totally.
about your academics. You talked about the transition from academics into industry. You're working at a really cool company. I mean, Google, right? As a software engineer. But what is your typical day like? I'm pretty sure it's exciting. You're working with a lot of different departments. What is it like? What is your typical day like?
Yeah, yeah, it is an incredible fortunate to be able to work at Google, surrounded by lots of very brilliant as well as very kind engineers. A lot of what my day is I do get a lot of time to sit down and code. Um, but I would say the actual time that I'm like writing code, like the actual amount of time that I am engineering stuff is quite low. A lot of what I'm doing is working with my other colleagues. So like every morning we have a meeting and we discuss like what we're doing, what we're blocked on, stuff like that, so we can understand what's going on around the company, um, even like around my team. And then usually I'll break off and do a little bit of work. And for me, work is mostly reading code and trying to understand what's going on. There's an expression that someone had said to me once, and it kind of sticks, is writing code at a certain point is easy, but the problems that you're solving is really hard. And getting insight into the problems is a lot of communicating with your peers and reading. Like I spend a lot of my time reading. And if I can't understand something, I would have to reach out to a coworker and be like, what problem are you trying to solve with this? I don't understand, like trying to build context, as well as also leaving a paper trail for other people. So writing skills are very important. And I do a lot of writing at work so people can understand why I did what I did and why it's set up this way, and just making it easier for other people to understand what's going on and help them be productive too. Um, so a lot of it is probably focused on sharing information, and then a surprisingly small portion is actually building stuff. You want to make sure that we're all aligned and we're all working in the same direction before we actually start digging in, um, because otherwise you can find yourself in a big mess, really.
I love that. I love that. Students, I hope it sounds familiar, right? Kind of using that group or collaborative approach to real world problems. Morgan, as you know, in the academic space, a lot of this is applying these skills. The problems that our students are working with, of course, are you know, examples or just how do I say this? Pieces of real world examples. What you're grappling with are actual problems, right? Products that Google builds, and you're working through those really, you know, challenging issues. And what you're hitting the nail on the head here with is that, you know, that leaning on others and saying, I might not know this, but let me reach out to someone else that might, or let me do some research. I mean, how empowering is that, right? And I love that you're mentioning that for our students, because it's a skill, right? We understand it's a journey. All of this is something that takes time. So, you know, be easy on yourself, students. Understand that, take this one step at a time. And this is an experience that I hope you're hearing that a lot of STEM professionals share. So please do not feel alone in this journey. Morgan, thank you so much for highlighting everything that you shared with us today. We're hitting the midpoint here, and I love that you mentioned, you know, that empowerment where you're, you know, taking initiative to do your own research. What kind of supports do you find to be helpful, either in the academic space or currently as a professional? Do you have mentors, or are there tools that you use, technologies that you find really helpful to kind of help you, you
Mhm.
know, overcome these challenges, or just, you know, resources that you tap into often?
Yeah. Yeah, I think all those things are extremely useful. Like the internet is an amazing place where you can find lots of information. Like I would not be where I am today if there wasn't for just the internet. I think like, in my current role, definitely seeking mentorship is huge. So going out to people and say like, hey, can I spend like 15 minutes just to ask you questions? Like I have all these questions, and there's actually somebody on my team who has been very receptive to those kind of things and has been very helpful. And I would not be where I am today if I was not able to um, use him as a resource and kind of grow and ask questions with his guidance. And that might be technical stuff, or it might also be organizational stuff. Like, how do I poise myself? Like, if I want to work on this project, how do I get the team to be confident in me so I can go work on that project? So, like mentors are very helpful, especially when you're new somewhere. They will help you ramp up quickly and allow you to ask questions. Like asking questions is huge, and it's a really big skill that you need to like. I recommend developing is just being able to um, understand what you're confused on or what you need help with, and asking. in a very clear way so people can help you. And mentors are a great place for that.
I love that. I love that. Students mentorship, definitely. The STEM space, Morgan, as we're kind of realizing with our STEM chats, is a really supportive community. The STEM professionals are understanding, like, listen, we can work on these problems together. So I love that you are, providing your time today to just kind of exemplify mentorship, even though it's just, a couple of minutes, but just providing this insight for our students and letting them know, saying, hey, listen, we're here. We know what it's like,
Yeah.
and we're here to share the experience with you. So thank you for really shedding light on that. Students, mentorship is really important. Our educators are oftentimes, the source of that mentorship, but we really here at BoSTEM encourage you to empower yourself to use your voice, as Morgan is mentioning, and ask those questions. Really try to understand the problem and seek out those resources, whether it be the internet, right, or specific tools, or those people that you see, or that you are finding to see yourself to follow in their footsteps. For example, a role model or someone who's working at a company that you might want to work at in the future, something like that. Or even at a school, please do not limit yourself. The resources are out there. Morgan, thank you so much for sharing your experience today. Working at Google is a really exciting opportunity. Some of our students who might be listening today understand that the STEM fields are plentiful and that development is booming right now in the tech fields. Is there any opportunity for our students who find the STEM fields interesting but don't see themselves as software engineers per se or computer scientists? Is there a space for them to work at a company like Google?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're interested in tech, um, there's a plethora of different roles out there. Like 1/3 of the roles, or almost half of the roles at Google, are not engineers. They might be designers who are helping design products. So if you're really interested in like shaping the look and feel of products, designers are very valuable. There's also project managers and product managers who are people who don't want to get into the technical details, but they want to help steer the product direction. So you might be making decisions like, who do we want to target this product towards? How do we want to spend our time? Like, do we want to spend our time working on accessibility features? And you can kind of shape a product that way. A lot of leadership roles and management roles as well. There's also test engineers. So if you like breaking stuff and if you want to break stuff, there's a lot of roles like that too. That's kind of fun. Engineers, they have a love-hate relationship with it, but yeah, test engineers are very valuable to making sure the product is good. Um, yeah, there's a lot of different roles all around tech. The engineering is just one small portion. Um, I would say more than half of the people I work with on a day-to-day basis are not engineers. So there's plenty of stuff out there.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. How exciting to hear. Students, I hope that you were listening closely. So many nuggets shared by Morgan. Thank you so much, Morgan, for, sharing what it's like to work at Google, what it's like to be a, software engineer, and just what it's like to work in the STEM field. Your time is so appreciated. Without volunteers like you, we wouldn't be able to kind of provide, these STEM chat sessions for our students. So I can't thank you enough. We are here at the end of our session, and we like to close sometimes with a little piece of advice. Is there anything that you would like to help our students walk away with, considering everything that we shared today?
Um, yeah, I would like to harken back or circle back to the persistence part. Um, like when I was younger, I wish that, like, sometimes I wish like maybe I had studied STEM earlier or done this or that, but like there really are no obstacles, especially with tech. Um, if you really want to do something, if you are clear in your goals and you're honest with where you're at, and you're just persistent, you chip away at it day after day, you will get traction and you will get where you want to go. Like, the amazing thing about the internet and tech is that you can build your own, build yourself up, build your confidence up, and people will look up to you and say like, wow, this is possible, anything's possible. um, so yeah, don't think because you pick some certain path that you're going to be blocked out of any other path. Just do what you think is the right thing to do and kind of persevere through, because you can get there. Be very open and willing to get feedback, because people want to see you succeed. People want to see you succeed and they want to help you. Like, that's why I'm here, because I like to help out and stuff. So just get involved, get your hands dirty, and just have fun, and you will get where you want to go.
Awesome. What a message. Students, I hope that you walked away with something positive today, because STEM, as we know, is booming right now. So you are at the right spot. Thank you, Morgan. Thank you to our educators for sharing our STEM opportunities to your students. Thank you, Morgan, for being an advocate for the STEM field and supporting BoSTEM with your time today. We cannot thank you enough. Students, we are here at the end of our session, but I'd like to remind you that our STEM chat sessions are ongoing. So please look out for future sessions in other fields or other topics. We would, gracefully, welcome anybody who would like to share their story or wants to tune in and find out more. However, we did talk about a lot today, and Google is an exciting company. So if you want to continue the conversation offline, please reach out to your educators. They have my contact information, and I'm happy to connect folks with our STEM professional Morgan today to talk offline or just to kind of ask a little bit more questions. However, I do want to mention that Morgan is, graceful enough to register for another session. So hopefully we'll see him at a future STEM Bite or another STEM opportunity. So sit tight, students. We will continue this conversation sooner or later. Thank you again, Morgan, for your time today. Thank you, educators. We cannot thank you enough. And I bid you a great rest of the afternoon.
Cool.